Let me show you what a day with my service dog, Auggie, looks like. In this video, I will be sharing some things I've learned in the past month and a half of having him, some information that you may or may not already know about service dogs, as well as a few tasks that mine has been trained to perform. According to the Americans with Disabilities Act, or the ADA, a service animal is any breed of dog that is individually trained to do work or perform tasks for the benefit of an individual with a disability. Something important to clarify is that service animals and emotional support animals, or ESAs, are not the same. A service dog differs from an ESA in multiple ways, but a big difference between the two is the amount of training that is needed. While service dogs require extensive, specific training, ESAs don't actually require any. Service dogs support by performing tasks, while ESAs support by simply existing. Now, I'm not discrediting how beneficial ESAs are. I have had one for the past 4 years who has saved my life multiple times. In this clip, I am putting Auggie's vest on him. Gear isn't legally required for service dogs, but many handlers use it anyways. One reason is because it makes the dog more easily recognizable as a service animal. Gear is also helpful for the dog to get into the mindset of working. They know what is expected of them when they have their gear on. Some people will put a vest on their often ESA that says service dog just so they can take them anywhere. While I understand the desire, it can actually be a very dangerous thing for someone with a legitimate service dog or the public in general. Since ESAs don't require training, sometimes, but not always, they will behave poorly. There have been some instances where a fake service dog will provoke or even attack a working dog, which can be detrimental for the handler. In some states, it is even an offense to misrepresent a service animal. One way someone may defend their service dog is by saying that they have proof that their dog is registered, certified, or has a form of identification, when that isn't even a legal requirement for service dogs. I even have an ID patch with a note card in it saying that. Something I've realized since becoming a service dog handler is that people rarely acknowledge the patches on my dog's vest, which is sad to me because some patches will include important information or teach others how to behave around service dogs. For instance, it is important not to interact with a service dog, specifically when they are wearing gear. Talking to, making kissy noises at, making eye contact with, and petting without permission are all forms of distraction. Not all disabilities are visible, so it is always important to be mindful of that. In this clip, I took my dog's vest off of him in order for him to go to the bathroom, because he's not allowed to do that when he's working. Just as humans need to take breaks in order to use the restroom, so do service animals. It always amazes me how Auggie is able to differentiate when he's working and when he isn't. Take the way he was walking, for example. I let him walk more freely when his vest is off because it signifies him just being a dog. Now back to working. Something that may not be common knowledge is that service dogs don't need to be professionally trained. Mine was, but many service dog handlers will train their own. You're about to see Auggie perform one of his tasks, guard, which is essentially him being the eyes in the back of my head. I have PTSD, and people sneaking up behind me can be super startling or even send me into a panic attack or flashback. Something that is always surprising to me is that I am rarely asked about my service dog when I go into a business, such as McAllister's, that is not pet-friendly. Maybe it's because businesses don't know they are allowed to. Businesses are legally allowed to ask 2 questions. 1, is that a service animal required because of a disability? And 2, what tasks has that dog been trained to perform? This was Auggie's first time being this close to another service dog outside of his initial training, and he was interested, but I feel like it went pretty well. Another thing about businesses is that they are allowed to ask for a service animal to be removed. Take the situation I spoke about earlier of a dog attacking another being. That would be a perfect situation to ask for the animal to be removed. Behavior such as that would be considered out of control, according to the ADA. Something to remember, however, is that service dogs are not robots. What wasn't shown was Auggie barking at a dog who wasn't doing anything except being there for outreach and support at a booth. Yes, he had his vest on. No, he isn't fake. In this video, I took his vest off and promptly asked him to perform a task for me. This is deep pressure therapy, or DPT, which is essentially Auggie becoming a weighted blanket or stuffed animal. I was feeling extremely humiliated, anxious, and embarrassed at his previous behavior. The reason I am having him work with his vest off is so he learns that there will be times where I will need his support even though he is technically off duty. I've come to accept that training is a constant part of having a service dog, even though he did graduate his training program. Just as humans need to practice skills in order to not become rusty, so do service dogs. After choir, my second and last class of the day, I let Auggie simply be a dog. Just as it is important for we as humans to rest, so is it important for service dogs to rest. Look at how much fun he's having. While we were done at school, the day was not over yet. Today wasn't exactly a typical day because my other dog, the ESA, Arnie, spent the day getting groomed. So this was us headed to go get him. This was also my first time at a pet store with Auggie. I was pretty nervous because, especially when his vest is off, he gets very interested in other dogs. He's only 2 years old, so he always wants to go play with the dogs he sees out in public. While it may seem cool to be able to bring my service dog most places with me, cool is not how I would describe it. If having a service dog is cool, then so is having debilitating trauma responses that make it so I lose my ability to speak. I love having him with me, but I get so much unwanted attention because who wouldn't notice a dog in a restaurant or at a movie theater? I've learned that if I'm confident in myself and in us as a service dog team, then others will be as well. If you don't take anything else away from this video, remember this. If you wouldn't do it to a wheelchair, please don't do it to a service dog.